You notice it when you open your banking app to check a routine purchase. The grocery shop went through. The fuel charge looks normal. And then there's a line you didn't expect to see today. Annual card fee. It's already cleared. You stare at it longer than you should, trying to remember when this was supposed to happen. You know it exists. You've always known it exists. It just hasn't mattered for 11 months. Now it does. Later that day, you're back at the shops for something small you forgot. Milk, bread, nothing extra. When you get to the till, you pause before tapping your card. Not because it won't work, because the balance is tighter than it was this morning. You put one thing back without making a decision about it. That's when the fee becomes real. It isn't big enough to cause a problem on its own. It never is. That's why it's forgettable. That's why it waits a year to show up. Long enough that it feels separate from everyday spending. Short enough that it never quite leaves your life. You scroll back through your transactions. Everything else looks familiar. Bills you expected. Subscriptions you recognize. Then the fee again, sitting there like it's always belonged. In a way, it has. A few days earlier, something else renewed quietly. Same amount as last year, but earlier than you remembered. Then a membership charge followed, one you barely use, but never canceled because it wasn't worth thinking about. Each one small, each one routine, each one easy to forget until they align. None of these costs arrive with a decision attached. There's no checkout screen, no confirmation step, no moment where you say yes again. They arrive because you once said yes and then stayed still. That's the pattern. Annual fees don't rely on surprise. They rely on distance. Time creates amnesia. By the time they come back around, the original choice feels abstract. Something past you handled. Someone responsible, organized, sensible. You trust that version of yourself. So when the charge hits, it feels awkward to question it. You agreed to this. You must have had a reason. Digging it up now feels unnecessary. A hassle. Easier to let it go and move on. And that's exactly when it stacks with everything else. The annual fee lands the same week your insurance renews. The same month council tax resets. The same stretch where a subscription quietly rolls over. None of them dramatic. All of them timed. You feel the weight not in a single moment, but in the way the month changes shape. Less slack, more checking. Small hesitations that weren't there before. Nothing in your life changed. The calendar did. That's the mechanism. These costs aren't triggered by behavior. They're triggered by time. They don't wait for permission. They don't check whether it's a good moment. They arrive because the year turned. And the longer something runs without interruption, the easier it is to charge for it again. You didn't overspend. You didn't upgrade. You didn't forget because you were careless. You forgot because nothing asked you to remember. By the time the fee shows up, it's already justified itself by existing for another year. It doesn't explain what you got. It doesn't need to. The service is still there. The card still works. Continuity becomes the argument. That's why annual fees are so effective. They don't compete with monthly bills. They ambush the gaps between them. They land in months that already feel busy. They rely on you not wanting to revisit old decisions while managing new ones. You notice the impact later. When you delay something small. When you decide not to book something yet. When you tell yourself, next month will be easier, even though you know another renewal is waiting somewhere ahead. Nothing broke. Nothing failed. The money just left because it always does. And the uncomfortable inversion is this. The fee didn't hit because you forgot about it. It hit because you were reliable enough to leave it running for a full year without interruption. Being organized, being consistent, being low maintenance, those weren't protections. They were the reason the charge could wait quietly, then take its turn.